Hey there folks, this is GreenyXI welcoming you right back to Let's Play Umineko. This is episode 87. In the last episode, we checked out how Erica and all the newbies sort of figure out the letter and the door knocking sort of situation before the first Twilight. But I think it was actually more about the interacting new characters and things like that, and how Erica could have a strop when it showed how psychotic she could be when she had her strop towards the end of the last episode, and then she just switched the conversation back to chopsticks all of a sudden. So, yeah, let's keep on going. See what's coming next. I think it showed last time that we were going to be kicking things off with Erica again, which I got no qualms with, you know. I love her as a character. Proper psycho. She's great. Battler-san returned to the guest house at 3 AM. Then, the rest of you split up about 30 minutes later, right? Yes, that's right. Drowsiness was finally starting to catch up to us. We decided to take a short rest and then start up again. To smoke out the murderer of the first Twilight, Erica closely questioned everyone involved to check their alibis and evidence. To confirm these, she went around the mansion with them, and when needed, took several trips out to the guest house through all the rain. Her vitality was impressive. Though she was an uninvited guest, everyone had long since stopped feeling anything strange about the way she played the detective. It seems Erica is also steadily building her foundation. It's useless. Whether alibis exist or not, she can't deny our existence. Kinzo escaped through the window and is now one with the mists of Rokkanjima. She most certainly won't be able to capture or deny him. When all's said and done, perhaps you could say he's escaped to the underside of the chessboard. In that case, maybe it would be appropriate to say he's been stowed away. Come to think of it, about those corpses from the first Twilight, they've been stowed away too, right? Yes. They've been put away in my darkness, which lies between this world and the next. And that detective wannabe won't be able to find them? Of course she won't. It'd definitely be impossible for a human. Wanna check? Just in case, and we also need to re-examine what Lady Berncastle's goals will be from now on. If you know your enemy, you need not fear the outcome of 100 battles. If you know the truth, you can win 100 battles without fighting. My. Garp opened up a large hole in the sky and had it swallow all of them up. Excuse me. She invited Beto and Ronove to the gap between worlds where she had hidden the corpses. That place was nowhere in this world, and existed at no time of this world. In other words, it truly and literally was a place not of this world. In this place, questions such as, where is this, and what time is it, have no meaning. Every single place led to here, but no place could be reached from here. Furthermore, all times connected to this place, but no time could be passed to from here. In short, this place was just what they said it was, the underside of the chessboard. No? Perhaps it would be most appropriate to call this the captured pile, where pieces that have left the game go. Then, through the pitch black world, a glow like a faint spotlight shone, and 5 corpses came into view. Only 5? The 5 pitiful corpses with their necks sliced open had been arranged neatly. Their eyelids were shut, and their hands joined. Apparently, even Garp had respect for the dead. Oh my. There are 5 sacrifices for the first Twilight in this game? Not 6? Oh, it's you, teacher. I was worried about where you'd gone. The game has already reached the first Twilight, and as you see, the first victims have appeared. So it's finally time. I'm getting all excited. I see. The you that is here looks to be in high spirits. I'm pleased. I've got high spirits and a captivating body. Add in my charming disposition, and you've got my only strong points. For some reason, Virgilia praised Beto for being in high spirits. Though Beto was taken aback at such granny-like words coming out of Virgilia's mouth all of a sudden. She pounded her chest and answered. I imagined her like Tarzan. Virgilia had been absent often during this game. She might even have been absent when Battler solved the epitaph, as well as during the uproar that followed. Apparently, she'd been absent for so many critical points. that she didn't really understand much about what had happened so far in this game. Right now, 5 corpses have appeared. As you can see, the necks have been slit. George, Jessica, Maria, Rosa, Genji. All 5 of them had their necks sliced open by something sharp. The wound opened wider than their mouths, and made it feel as though they'd no longer need their mouths to breathe. I see. So anyone looking at George, Jessica, Maria, Rosa or Genji's corpses could confirm at a glance that they are dead. Red? Well, there's no point in me holding out against you. That's right, at a glance anyone could confirm that these corpses are dead, so it's absolutely impossible that they're just plain dead. Why did Leah use the red? Leah? Who knows? Oh, Virgilia. Leah, okay. However, she is always thinking of what's best for my lady. She probably has some idea in mind that will benefit her. But they'd hid the corpses here, specifically so that no one would be able to use the red. However, Ronave was right. Virgilia always thought of Beatrice first. A slightly displeased expression rose to Gap's face, as she saw that the corpses she'd gone to such lengths to hide had now been confirmed dead in red. However, in the end, she remembered that she was only a guest and shrugged. Why did you have Gap hide the corpses? As to that, since the epitaph has already been solved, this game of mine is different from usual. I now have serving and protecting Natsuhi as my goal. How would concealing their corpses protect Natsuhi? We've more or less figured out what our opponent's moves will be. This is probably a trap meant to corner Natsuhi. Most likely, they'll sort through alibis for the first Twilight and find them for everyone except her. Yeah, because she had that phone call saying for her to be in the bedroom on her own, right? Last night, Natsui-sama was the first to leave the family conference and then rested alone in her room. Unfortunately, she has no alibi whatsoever until the next morning. We've already made Kinzo's existence impossible to deny. However, there is a single move remaining to our enemy that might cancel that out. I see. So, they'll corner Natsuhi and make her confess that Kinzo doesn't exist. Indeed. The enemy is probably after something like that. By watching the movements of the pieces involved with the family conference, we quickly realised that Natsuhi was isolated. Noticed that trap of theirs and countered with this move. The corpses disappear! Everyone has alibis, and no one exists who could have moved them. Not only does this support the claim that a witch exists, it also throws doubt on whether they were actually corpses in the first place, just barely allowing Natsuhi to escape being a suspect. In other words, it's possible for Natsui-sama to claim that the sacrifices of the first Twilight were only playing dead. You mean, even though many people confirmed their deaths without fail in the cousin room? Mere confirmation of facts doesn't even approach the red truth. No matter how much everyone claims to have truly witnessed their deaths, the red truth doesn't exist in the human world. Because the corpses don't exist, Natsui can discount their words as a mistake, some sort of trick, or she can say they were all lying. And it's possible for her to do this over and over to buy time for herself. In the human world, which lacks the red truth, perpetual check is a valid move. An endless argument with both sides denying the other claims. Not pretty. True. However, beauty is something to be sought only after victory. When those without victory seek it, it's naught but poison. Well, they do say might makes right. And even if I don't think it's beautiful, those Voyager witches will probably like it and say it isn't boring. I see. I've managed to grasp the flow of this game. I imagine it will get quite nasty. We're fully aware of that. And we already know that Natsui's probably about to be lured into yet another trap. A trap? Indeed. Someone Lady Lambda Delta created, who calls himself a man from 19 years ago, has already threatened Natsui. She was ordered to go into a closet in a certain guest room in a few minutes at 1 PM and hide there. Kraus was taken hostage, so Natsui can't resist. I see. How relentless. Can you protect her? Of course. After all, Natsui isn't the culprit. No matter how much she's treated as the culprit, both the truth and phantoms are on our side. There's no way we'll lose. Can't beat a bit of cackling. Natsui threw her cup of tea to the ground in protest, expressing the anger that flowed throughout her entire body. What do you mean by that? Are you saying you suspect me? You told me you left before anyone else, returned to your room, and didn't leave that room until morning. However, if you cannot prove that, it doesn't count as an alibi. Prove? How could I possibly do that? It doesn't matter how. Objectively speaking, it'll all be fine as long as you prove it was impossible for you to commit the crime. Everyone else is cooperating. I want you to stop being so hostile and give me your alibi along with proof. That's right. Almost the whole night is a blank space in time for Natsuhi-san. She might have left the conference, saying she wanted to rest before us, then gone to the guest house and attacked George and the others. Please don't be such a fool. Why would I kill George-kun? And on top of that, my own daughter, Jessica. Calm down. We're all equally suspicious. It's sad, but we all have to prove our innocence. Yeah. We've been thinking frantically about how to prove our alibis for last night, so we could clear up the suspicion against us. I know you can't like being suspected, Natsuhi-san. If it frustrates you, then shouldn't your first priority be searching for some way to prove your own innocence? The relatives spoke as though they were all under equal suspicion, but the mood about the place didn't feel so peaceful. Erika was still in the middle of confirming all of the facts, but except for Natsuhi, who was uncooperative when it came to proving alibis, everyone else had an alibi that was reasonably credible. Only Natsuhi, who claimed that even being suspected was an insult, was uncooperative with Erika, and her position began to grow more and more perilous. This parlour was no longer a place of comfort for Natsuhi, and the sound of the cup smashing had made that decisive. That's ridiculous. Why must I be suspected when I've lost a daughter? You're maliciously trying to make me look like the culprit just because I went to bed early last night. I can't stand this humiliation any further. Oh, so what are you going to do about it? Show us some kind of alibi that proves your innocence? As if you could. Give me George back, murderer. Stop it, Eva. Natsuhi-san, you're probably a bit tired too. Same goes for us, of course. Why don't we take it easy for now? Seriously, we're a little too high-strung. Aunt Natsuhi, where are you going? Searching for alibis or the culprit will be truly laughable at this point. When that typhoon passes and the police come, everything will be exposed to the light of day. There's no reason whatsoever for us to play at being detectives. Am I wrong, Erika-san? Generally speaking, you're right. However, I do have the authority to do this. Who gave you that authority? No one asked. It was an authority given by words of power from a higher world, so the pieces weren't even allowed to doubt it. I'm leaving. I have no intention of going along with your pointless questioning before the police come. If you suspect me, feel free to do so. I'm counting on the police to clear away that suspicion. It may be a bit late to mention this, but then again, I guess this happens every time anyway. As usual, the phone couldn't connect to the police. Natsuhi said the police would be coming, but that wasn't exactly true. Strictly speaking, the boat would come tomorrow, and they would use the radio on that boat to contact the police. Well, it's not like I'll let everyone live that long anyway. Natsuhi-san, it's dangerous to go alone. Bit of Zelda. Perhaps it would be better if we all stayed here. Why not let her? This might make for some very good proof. If Natsuhi-san gets killed in her own room, that'll be excellent proof of her innocence. Quit it, Aniki. It's probably best if we all get a bit of rest. Our bodies won't last until tomorrow. I mean, maybe they won't. If we're going to take a break, we still mustn't let our guards down, got it? We might not make it through the night, much less tomorrow. Aunt Natsuhi, if you return into your room, make sure you lock it tight. Close the windows and shutters too, and stay safe. I don't want to suspect anyone. And more than that, I don't want there to be any more victims. Thank you, Battler-kun. Then I'll return to my room. Goda, you're in charge now. I know this is a horrible situation, but see to it that our guests have everything they need. Yes, madam. I shall do so. With everyone watching her, Natsuhi left the parlour. From their faces, she could tell that they were expecting the classic mystery pattern. That the first person to quarrel and leave the circle would become the next victim. But I feel like she's a proper main character this time, so maybe that won't happen. Natsuhi couldn't disobey because of the threat against Kraus, who had been taken hostage. Very soon, it would be that promised time, 1 PM. She has to hide in a closet or something? Hide for an hour in the closet of a specific guest room. It was easy to suspect that this bizarre order was a trap to select her as the next sacrifice. She thought of various ways to resist, but all methods would be useless against the culprit who had a hostage and was observing her from close by. So Natsuhi could do nothing but obediently follow that order, and then claim that she'd been forced to do this for her husband's safety. When the promised time had drawn near, Natsuhi had intentionally acted annoyed and smashed a cup on the ground to give her an excuse for slipping out of the parlour. At any rate, no matter how cowardly a trap it may be, I cannot disobey now. I am now the one who carries the burden of the one-winged eagle. Now that my husband Kraus has been captured, I must protect it, even if I have to crawl through the mud. Of course, I am prepared to do so. I am a Shuramae Natsuhi. Even if I am not permitted to bear the one-winged eagle on my clothes, Father gave me permission to bear it in my heart. It's jumping between situations a lot in this part, and I like that. Like different music, different feels. Different feels. I've managed to get this far by plausibly dashing away in a rage. So far, everything has gone well. Before my eyes was the doorknob of the specified guest room. However, I wonder if it's locked. The servants are normally ordered to lock any unused rooms. What will I do if it's locked? I had dashed away from the others, pretending I was returning to my room. Popping back and asking a servant to unlock this guest room would be obviously suspicious. If I can, I'd like to get this eerie hide-and-seek over with without anyone noticing. In that phone call from the one who claimed to be the man from 19 years ago, he said I would win if no one found out, but lose if anyone did find out. He said my husband would be released whether I won or lost. But as a person with a hostage taken against me, I'd rather not lose. I don't like it at all, but I have to go along with this game. When I softly gripped the doorknob, I could feel that it was unlocked. Did Shannon or Kumasawa forget to lock it after cleaning? Or did that man unlock it in advance? That man couldn't be waiting for me in this room, could he? And then he'll... Or that about hide-and-seek might have been a mere excuse. I kept the fact I was coming here secret, and all the others think I'm resting in my room. If I were to be killed in this situation, it might create a new baffling murder case, like an extension of the one that occurred this morning. That might actually turn out for the better. Perhaps this is a good chance to confront the culprit directly. Natsuhi had some experience with using Najinata, though only casually. What is that? And like Eva, she couldn't brag about being able to hold off any single ruffian indefinitely. As she was now, she had no realistic chance of challenging a man with malicious intent and winning. She's going in. She readied herself and slowly opened the door. She couldn't just stand around in the corridor and risk being seen by someone. The atmosphere inside the guest room was frigid, and she could sense no trace of anyone waiting impatiently for her. All she could hear were the unsettling sounds of the wind and rain. At first, this seemed to prove that there was no one here to threaten her, but soon it only made an uneasy feeling rise up inside her even more strongly than before. The closet was just off to the side of anyone entering the room. Lined up inside it was a set of hangers for coats. This closet, which had nothing hanging in it, was large enough for even an adult to hide in. Oh, perfect. She softly opened the closet. Of course, there was nothing inside. She would have to hide quietly in here for an hour. The room had a wooden floor, but something like a carpet had been laid in the closet. It seemed sitting down wouldn't be a problem. She had been sure someone would be waiting for her in this room, or that a strange letter would be lying in the closet. In the worst case, she'd even imagined that her husband's corpse might be inside there. However, none of these things she imagined turned out to be true. The only thing there was a cold guest room. It looks so different. Is this the first time he's used images like this? I think it's new photos for the background. A lifeless closet that silently urged her to enter. And he told me to hide in here for an hour. He's mocking me. She'll do it anyway. Natsuhi shrugged, turned around, then locked and chained the guest room door. This way, no one will be able to get into this room. In other words, no one will be able to find me for the next hour. I win. What a stupid game of hide-and-seek. There surely must be a total victory in the hide-and-seek game against the mystery man. However, it was such an easy victory it made her feel uneasy. Well, I think she's getting blamed. That's why he told her to go back to her room for all night where she'd have no alibi, and that's why he's telling her to hide in a closet. I think is to again not have an alibi to have anyone around. Normally, this would be against the rules of hide-and-seek. Even if she had won, wouldn't this displease the culprit? And now, everyone thought she had returned to her room. If they found a room with a chain set, that would make it an impossible closed room to them. Erica dashed throughout the mansion to confirm alibis or something. If she noticed that the chain was set on this room, there would probably be an uproar that would end in them cutting the chain and searching the room. If that happened, Natsuhi would be found hiding in the closet right away. It would be easy to honestly confess as to why she'd been hiding. However, that man had insisted that she not reveal that. If she did talk, she might endanger her husband. Thinking of it that way, setting the chain, no, even the lock might be a bad idea. That's right. This room was unlocked when I came in here. If it were to suddenly become locked, it's conceivable that it might catch someone's attention. It's better if I don't do anything unnecessary. That man only told me to hide. So she's going to unlock it, right? So in the end, I have no choice but to do what he says. I hate doing it, but I cannot disobey. I undid those 2 precious locks, went into the dimly lit closet filled with the smell of old wood, and managed to close the door from the inside. Pitch black. It reminded me of when I was young, when I used to hide somewhere and then surprise my mother. But that peaceful recollection wasn't enough to kill off my anxiety. It really is pitch black. From here, I won't even be able to check my watch to see if an hour has passed. I'll probably need to open the door a crack every once in a while to let in enough light for my watch. For now, I'll crouch down here. I thought about clutching my knees, but it hurt my back when I tried. I'm not as young as I used to be. Even though I was made to sit on the floor holding my knees in every PE class as a grade schooler, I now have to struggle just to sit down. Just crouching down here for an hour would probably hurt a lot. She's not that old, is she? I can't think how old she's meant to be. I can't believe I'll be hiding in the darkness for a full hour with nothing to hear except the wind and rain. Ironically, Natsuhi had made Jessica do the exact same thing in the past. She had done it when Jessica was a little girl to scold her for her persistent bad habits and teach her a lesson. She thought that making Jessica stay put in the darkness would sprout a desire to reflect on her mistakes, and that this way she would understand what she had done wrong. It almost feels like I'm being made to do the same thing. If that's the true purpose of this hide and seek. How naive of me. This must be my naivety. The hope that if their goal is to make me repent, nothing will happen here during this hour. Uncertainty and fear of that man's shadow are not what I need right now. Will someone suddenly come to this room, open this closet, and do something horrible to me now that I've come here in total secrecy as promised? That's what I should be worrying about. The culprit, or one of his accomplices, is very close by. If they weren't, they wouldn't be able to observe me so thoroughly. I don't want to think it, but it's highly likely that the culprit brought off one of the servants. The culprit hid an eerie card with autumn written on it in my room. My personal room is always locked. That trick wouldn't have been possible without a key. Instead of believing that they obtained the key when the servants weren't looking, it's much more realistic to assume that one of the servants lent the culprit a hand. But how did they know that autumn is my favourite season? How unsettling. The thought that this mystery man might be peeking into my heart sent goosebumps running across my whole body. It's true that I like autumn, but I've never said it out loud. How can I guarantee that? You might have just offhandedly said it to someone by accident, without even thinking. I don't think anyone's ever heard me say it. If I asked even my husband what my favourite season is, he'd probably be stumped for an answer. No. Just once I told it to a single person. That's right. Shannon. Aha. On an autumn day long ago, I happened to be in a good mood, and I mentioned that autumn was my favourite of the 4 seasons. So the culprit, or one of their accomplices, has to be Shannon. The fact that I like autumn can only be known by Shannon. In that case, this is clear proof that Shannon is involved. That card with autumn on it is proof. Outrageous. Even though she's served the family for 10 years. I trembled and shook with rage. Didn't Kinzo once say that anger is the fastest sedative to cure fear and uncertainty? It's easy to tell the most fearful humans from within a crowd. They're always the first to get angry. I remember him telling me that. So I realised that this anger was a sign that I was actually frightened, and I tried my best to remain calm. However, this is a vital clue for turning things around. Shannon may not be reliable as a servant, but if she's an accomplice used by that mystery man, this might actually be convenient. A weak-willed girl. If I threaten her, she'll probably spill the name of the mastermind in an instant. I'll secretly tell the police about this. It might become a big clue towards arresting the culprit. That card was probably meant to shock me and get me to do what he says. But he's actually dug his own grave. I never told anyone except Shannon that I like Autumn. This is unshakable proof that she's working with a culprit. Though I once thought this time in the closet would crush me with uncertainty and uneasiness, it's actually given me the start of a counterattack. If I wasn't given this time in the darkness, I probably wouldn't have noticed this. I'm almost grateful to the culprit for making up this foolish game. My mood brightened. I still can't guarantee that my husband is safe, but I'll definitely get him back and force the culprit to face judgment. I clenched my fists tightly and further strengthened my resolve to avoid losing this fight at any cost. Rattle rattle. At that time I heard the sudden sound of someone trying to force the locked door open, and my heart leapt. Oh, it was unlocked. The voice was Hideyoshi's. I heard that quiet voice, as though he was talking to himself, coming from what was probably the hallway. Apparently, he had thought it was locked and tried to unlock it, but had ended up locking the unlocked door instead. Once again, there was the sound of the lock turning, and now the door opened with a faint sound. Why, is Hideyoshi-san in this room? Footsteps that sounded like his came in, and there was a sound of him closing and locking the door behind him. Then came what seemed to be the sound of him setting the chain. Don't tell me Hideyoshi-san is the mastermind, or else an accomplice. Is he planning to do something to me in this room? It would take some time to unlock the door from this side, much less remove the chain. If Hideyoshi-san doesn't intend to let me escape from here, he won't give me enough time to undo the chain. In that case, if he opens the closet door and sees me crouching here pathetically, just what kind of fearsome words will he say? I don't want to be found. I don't want to be found. I beg you, pass right on by the closet door. Please keep going into the centre of the room. My head was so filled with a throbbing sound that it felt like it was about to explode, and I almost missed hearing his noisy footsteps. So when I heard a clunking sound come from the centre of the room, I finally realised that he'd passed by the closet and was deeply relieved. That's an interesting way of doing the picture there, just like a slit through the door kind of thing. Just in case. In this weather, it's pretty much night out there anyway. As he whispered, he did something that made a clunking sound. He's probably closing the shutters on the windows. Just in case? In case I tried to escape out the window? No, that can't be it. That's right. When I left the parlour, everyone was talking about possibly taking a break. After all, several murders have occurred, and the weather's bad. There'd be nothing abnormal if someone chose to rest in a guest room here instead of returning to the guest house. In that case, locking up and closing the shutters to guarantee safety is the proper course of action to take. When he finished closing the shutters, there was a thunk as though he'd flopped over on the bed. It was surprising how much of the situation could be grasped just by the sound. What's going on here? Did the man from 19 years ago plan all this out to put me in the same room as Hideyoshi-san? No, that probably isn't true. He probably planned on me hiding here. But Hideyoshi-san coming to take a rest here must have been outside the scope of his plan. Thinking about it that way, having him in the room might be odd, but also might guarantee my own safety. Unlike his wife, Hideyoshi-san's the kind of person I can talk to. If Eva-san comes, things would probably get complicated. Maybe I should slip out of this closet now while he's still alone. Reveal everything to just him and ask for help. But if I do that, my husband might get killed. Until my husband's released, I shouldn't do anything rash. Should I go out and talk or hide in here? Moaning from my headache and biting my lower lip, I resisted the urge to crawl out of here. Even if I talk with Hideyoshi-san, I don't know where my husband's being held. I'm sure the traitor who's observing me is nearby. Just talking to him won't solve everything. I suspect that Shannon's the traitor, but that's no proof that Goda and the others aren't. It's all useless. I guess leaving here and confessing is too dangerous after all. Eventually, I heard a strange, sobbing voice. Whose voice was it? I strained my ears, trying to hear that strange voice, and was shocked to discover that it was Hideyoshi weeping. Hideyoshi, who had lost his only son, was finally able to shed tears and cry, now that he was all alone like this. Thinking that he needed to support Eva in her distress, he acted as though he alone was standing firm. However, he has as good a right to cry as anyone. And now that he's found a place where no one can see his tears, he finally let himself do it. And I've lost my daughter. I haven't seen her corpse with my own eyes, so it still doesn't really feel like she's dead. But if the one who carried her off was the culprit, and he had some repulsive motive for doing it, just thinking about it makes it feel as though my chest will tear itself apart. The reason I'm hiding in here now is that I'm thinking more about my still living husband than my dead daughter. But if I were given the chance, I'd be wailing at the top of my lungs too. However, I still cannot let myself do that. It isn't because the man from 19 years ago told me to hide. It's because I'm the final head of the Ashuramaia family. It's been completely overshadowed by the recent uproar. But last night, Battlecun found the hidden gold, and even gained the head's ring from that mysterious envelope. At the very, very end, when it's all over, I probably won't be able to prevent his ascension as the head. And when everything regarding the distribution of the inheritance is revealed, the Ashuramaia family honour and glory passed down from father will plummet to the earth. So I am the final head. Battlecun will probably inherit the remaining wealth of the Ashuramaia family. However, its history and honour will all end with my generation. Therefore, I am the final head. I must not cry. Not yet. Until I get my husband back and avenge my daughter, I will not be allowed to shed tears. In the closet, I silently hung my head as I listened to Hideyoshi-san's sobs. Who are you? Huh? My heart leapt. I heard a sound that must have been Hideyoshi-san, who had probably been lying prostrate on the bed, bounding to his feet. Did he notice me? How did you get in here? What's that? Wait a sec. Wait. He was clearly in a struggle with someone. Who on earth could it be? No, it doesn't matter who it is. It's probably the culprit, and they're probably trying to take Hideyoshi-san's life. Shouldn't I jump out of here and help him? If I can't help him, shouldn't I call for help? No, but if I do something like that, I'll be questioned about why I was hiding here. However, if Hideyoshi-san gets killed like this... No, now isn't the time to be saying that. At this rate, he'll certainly be killed. I'll jump out of here and help him right now. But if I do that, even if I can't save Hideyoshi-san, I might be abandoning my husband's life. Hideyoshi-san's life and my husband's life. How sinful it would be to try and weigh those against each other. At that time, there was a loud sound as the door opened and the chain was pulled tight. Someone was trying to open the door despite the chain being set. Dear, it's me. Could you open up? Eva. Dear? They're going to be the two lovers, are they, for the second Twilight? What's happening? Dear? Open up. Open up. Open up, dear. Someone. She opened and closed the door over and over again with all her might, but of course she couldn't snap the chain. Eva-san called for help in a loud voice and raced through the hallway. By this time, the room had settled back into silence. That earlier sense of Hideyoshi being in a noisy struggle had disappeared completely. What's going on here? So right now, I'm in the same room as the murderer who killed Hideyoshi-san. In that case, the culprit should try to escape from the room as soon as possible. So why are they hiding in here? I haven't heard anything. Nothing that might have been the culprit who attacked Hideyoshi-san rushing away. No matter how much I strain my ears, I can't sense anyone in the room. In fact, it's so silent that it makes what happened just a second ago feel like an illusion. In other words, does this mean that the culprit's hiding his breath, standing just outside this closet, waiting for me to stumble out? I don't even know what I should be scared of anymore. If only I could just melt away into the darkness of this closet. I mustn't remain in this room any longer. I get the feeling I have more to worry about than just my personal safety. But what should I do? I don't even know if it's a good idea to leave this closet. Eventually the clamor of many rushing footsteps approached. I'll hold my breath again and melt away into the darkness of the closet. Eva dashed back, bringing everyone with her. Goda was gripping some wire cutters to cut the chain with. After trying to open the door again and confirming that the chain was still set, she yelled through the crack in the door. Dear, we're going to open this up. Cut it right now. Yes. Goda stuck the large wire cutter, which looked like it could slice off a whole finger, through the crack of the door, and easily severed the chain. Dear. As soon as it was severed, Eva pushed Goda aside and dashed in. The others tried to follow her, but they bumped into Eva, who had fallen to her knees, moaning. So even though they couldn't tell much of what was going on inside the room, they could tell by Eva's moans that they were too late. What the hell? So only one person's been killed. Dear? Dear! Dr. Nanjo, look at my husband, quickly. I'll do it right now. You've got to be kidding me. It's only been about 10 minutes since Uncle Hideyoshi went out saying he wanted to rest. Is there anyone in the bathroom? No. There's no one here. What could have happened? Ugh. Dear. Dear. I'm afraid to say that there's nothing I can do. Nanjo stood up, hanging his head sadly. It was only natural, because anyone, even if they weren't a doctor, would think that at a glance. Hideyoshi was lying face down on the bed, and stuck deep into his back was something like a blade with an intricate demonic design on it. When Eva pulled it out with all her might, they could tell that it wasn't a blade, but some kind of stake, and its sharp tip had penetrated nearly 15 centimeters in. It had probably dug deep into the lungs. If it had been stuck in any harder, the tip might even have pierced all the way through to the surface of his chest. "Didn't I tell you to wait for me? Why did you go on alone? Stupid, stupid, stupid." The culprit probably waited for us to get careless and split up. The bastard. So he still hasn't had enough blood? So he really is hiding somewhere in this mansion and coming after us. But there's something strange here. The doors and windows to this room are completely sealed. That's right. The shutters are all shut and the door chain was set until a second ago. Huh? But that's crazy. In that case, how did the culprit attack Hideyoshi-san in this room? Maybe they threw this stake through the crack in the door? Hideyoshi-san's bed is a total blind spot from this crack. You couldn't even kill him with a gun. This really is strange. It's a closed room murder. A closed room murder? It's a bit too early to be sure about that. Maybe he removed the ceiling in the bathroom and escaped to the space above it. Or maybe you can close the shutters from outside. And here she comes. Give me 2 seconds. The shutters. They didn't budge an inch from the outside. I just went and checked. Erica. It's no wonder everything felt so quiet and relaxed. At some point, Erica had split from the group. Just now, she had finally arrived and poked her face in from the hallway. When she heard that a crime had occurred in this room, she had watched everyone rush towards the room, but circled around to the outer wall herself. Excuse me. And she had gone all by herself to check that the shutter was down on the window, that you couldn't do anything with it from the outside, and that there was nothing out of the ordinary. Is the inside of the room just like usual? There's no need to say it like that. My deepest condolences. So, what's the situation inside the room? The chain was set on the door, so we cut it and entered. And all the windows have the shutters down. They're locked tight from the inside. What are they bickering about in there? Eva was arguing with Nanjo about something. Apparently, she wanted to carry the corpse to the parlour. Nanjo tried to calm her, saying that they should leave the crime scene as untouched as possible until the police came. What happened to the other corpses? The culprit carried them off somewhere, right? It may be that the culprit isn't satisfied with just killing, but intends to do something with the corpses. So no way we're leaving my husband all alone here. Eva does have a point. After all, the victims before now have all been carried away after we were shown their terrible wounds. Erica-chan, you'd probably like to preserve the crime scene, but could you just let this one slide? Do whatever you want. All I'm interested in is the fact that a closed room has appeared that's much more serious than Kinzo-san's study. I have no interest in corpses, so do as you please. Battler's expression was clearly unhappy, but she ignored him completely. Feel free to carry that corpse out any time, or am I in the way? Erica backed away from the door to open a path. She showed no trace of any sadness for the dead. Her eyes simply blazed with thoughts of this closed room murder that had appeared. In any event, the great detective had given her permission. Eva and some others wrapped Hideyoshi up in the sheets, and Goda and Rudolph carried him out. The sheets were quickly stained red. It was so painful to see that Shannon and Kumasawa stripped the blanket off the bed to further cover the corpse. Hey, out of the way! Yes, I'm out of the way. Let's go to the parlour. Yes. Dear. Uah. Listen up, everyone. From now on, we'll always move as a group. You must not let yourself be isolated. When the culprit attacked Genji, he probably got a master key. It's clear that even locking up will no longer make you safe. But even the chain was set. How did they do it? It's impossible. The shutters and the chain were firmly set. Even with a master key, it'd be impossible to force your way into that room. It must have been Beatrice-sama was doing. Oh. There's no way Beatrice-sama did this. The epitaph has been solved, so there shouldn't be any more reason to hold the ceremony. Of course we can't understand it. This would be impossible for anyone except a witch. Impossible for anyone except a witch, you say? Good. Has a nice ring to it. Erika-chan, you listening? We've decided to stick together from now on. First, we're carrying Hideyoshi-san's corpse to the parlour. Can you hold off playing detective until we get there? When she heard the words playing detective, Erika grimaced visibly. Then everyone stumbled out and she took a single step into the now empty guest room. Looking around and burned that scene into her eyes. Erika claimed to have a photographic memory. If that was true, those few seconds were more than enough for her. Later on, she could sip black tea in the parlour while perusing the photograph of the scene inside her memory, playing the part of an armchair detective. Then suddenly, her eyes stopped on the closet off to the side. Uh-oh! A closet for hanging overcoats. If it was large enough to fit a coat on a hanger, a person should be able to hide in it. Slowly, Erika stretched her hand out towards the closet. Erika's shoulder was grabbed roughly from behind. Let's go, Miss Detective. Didn't you ever learn how to stick together on school field trips? Well, whenever I go travelling, someone always dies. Well, okay. Hey, what do you think you're doing, brats? Come quickly. Rudolph told them to hurry. After clicking her tongue and glaring at the closet, Erika followed Battler back to the parlour for the time being. Close. She's still going to be suspicious. The sound of their footsteps finally faded. That time of terror, when I feared that even the dripping of the cold sweat covering my cheeks might be noticed, had finally ended. With my hand that still couldn't stop trembling, I slowly opened the closet door and dashed out into the hallway. It's okay, no one's found me. Still, it's a good thing they didn't lock the door. If they had, I wouldn't be able to lock it behind me after I left, and they'd find it suspicious. Anyway, I should leave this place. Then I'll return to my room and pretend that I was sleeping the whole time. Yes, if I don't get back soon. A new murder has occurred. They'll probably try to tell me about it. And they'll probably do it shortly after they carry Hideyoshi-san's corpse back to the parlour. I can get around a phone call by saying I was asleep and didn't notice, but if they come knocking directly, that'll be bad. I have to get back quickly before they try to force their way in. I don't know whether I should run all out noisily, hide my footsteps and walk in secret, or walk around normally as though nothing has happened. At the very least, it'll be bad if I bump into them on their way back to the parlour. Anyway, I'll head to my room at a quick pace without being noticed by anyone. I pass through the hallway to the lobby. If I go up the big staircase in the lobby, my room is just a little bit... Natsuhi-san! Just as she was about to go up the large staircase, Natsuhi heard Erika call out to her, and was so surprised that she visibly jumped. I was just about to go and tell you the news. Thank you very much. Did something happen? Just now, Natsuhi-san. You were climbing the stairs, right? Your room is upstairs, isn't it? Erika coldly pointed out this strange fact. Natsuhi cursed her bad luck. I couldn't sleep, so I was going to return to the parlour. But I wasn't sure whether I had locked my room or not, so I was about to head back. I'm a warrior, so this sort of thing happens a lot. Don't worry about it. Yeah, that sort of thing does happen a lot. It's a common quirk among people who aren't confident in their memory. Normally, since Erika was clearly making fun of her, Natsuhi might have looked annoyed. However, right now, Natsuhi was extremely relieved to hear Erika admit that this sort of thing happened a lot. Why are you by yourself, Erika-san? I thought I'd investigate that guest room. Guest room? Yep. The situation's gotten pretty serious, hasn't it? And investigating the scene of the crime is my right. Erika's probing gaze peered deep into Natsuhi's eyes. She could tell. Erika already suspected Natsuhi. Judging by the subtle nuance in her words, she must be planning to make me slip up and reveal that I know about the crime with Hideyoshi, when I supposedly haven't been told about it yet. Natsuhi played dumb and asked what had happened again. Is something wrong? No, it's nothing. This is just a repeat of the first crime, isn't it? What do you mean? Again, you were in your room. And again, you can't prove your alibi, can you? I don't know what you mean. To turn it around, how can you prove that I wasn't in my room? Ah, that. Then let's take this one step at a time. Please worry about your lock later. I have something vitally important to discuss with everyone. I'll come back after I check my lock. Please get started without me. Hideyoshi-san has been killed. We'll be talking about that. What? She had planned on using the need to check her lock as an excuse to escape her own room. To her own room. After which, she would claim to have a sudden headache and stay in bed the rest of the time. However, now that she had been informed of Hideyoshi's murder, it would be clearly suspicious to postpone that and escape to her room. She was already under suspicion, just because she'd been seen heading up the stairs to the second floor. She couldn't afford to do anything else suspicious. Natsuhi gave up and headed for the parlour, as Erika had urged her to do. When she opened the door to the parlour, Eva's sobs poured out, and everyone glanced at Natsuhi with grave faces. Those gazes almost made it look as though they suspected Natsuhi. It was now painfully apparent to Natsuhi. They must have been what that man was after. It was a trap to create a baffling closed room mystery and try to frame her for it. However, she couldn't have resisted. She couldn't sacrifice her husband's life. And while it's true I hid in the closet, that's all I did. I definitely haven't committed murder. I might be extremely suspicious, but I'm not the culprit. And most importantly, I'm not under suspicion yet. I'll tell the police everything. I'll have to endure until then. I'm sure one of the servants is a traitor. Even in a situation like this, if I mention my husband being held hostage, the culprit will hear and might use it as an excuse to kill him. Natsuhi-san has just come back. Now that we're all here, I have something very important to discuss with you all. Something very important? Yes, it's very important. I'd like to lay out everything in front of you all, starting with the first crime. Then please do that with just the others. I think we should leave that sort of thing to the police. I'm not interested. Since I have it all laid out, this is a very important thing to discuss. Neither you nor anyone else has the right to refuse. What? Erika used her detective's authority to proclaim the start of an assembly. None of the pieces could disobey. Praying that she wouldn't become the topic of conversation, Natsuhi reluctantly sat on the sofa as she'd been urged to. Oh, sorry. Could you close that door for me? Yes. Shannon and Cannon closed the door. Since it had been decided a short while ago to lock all doors and windows carefully, Cannon locked it. That lock, which existed to protect the safety of this room, felt like a lock on a prison cell to Natsuhi, one that would hold her in place and prevent any escape. Natsuhi still hadn't noticed. Though Erika had gone into the corridor to check the crime scene in Hideyoshi's room, her goal had changed. In other words, from Erika's point of view, the sound of that lock was truly checkmate. Erika said that suddenly. Berncastle said that suddenly. Oh, fast. Wow, so you figured out the culprit already? We've barely gotten to any of the crimes, right? You could have just let me kill a few more and gathered a few clues yourself. Okay, Lambda, gather all the pieces. Now we're getting to the most interesting part. Let's both enjoy it to the fullest. Well, let's see. Why don't you show me what you've got? To think she'd lay down the challenge without waiting for game set at midnight. What a hasty person, that Lady Berncastle. It's quite an early challenge. To think that she's already managed to obtain a winning hand at this stage. Normally, you can win by just claiming that a witch exists. But with Natsuhi and Kinzo, we've got a lot we need to protect this time. Sounds like this fight will be a pain. That's no problem at all. I won't let them do as they please with my golden island any longer. Bring it on, Lady Berncastle. Frodo, Erika. Oh, here we go. In the Golden Land, the endless rain continued to fall. Battler was nowhere to be seen. It would very soon reach the time that Battler had joined in on the 5th game, and control of the pieces would be passed on to Battler. In other words, he would only be officially added to the game now in this final stage, where Berncastle had pinpointed the culprit. So he had left the arbour a short while ago. Now, the only ones in sight were Virgilia, who continued to knit silently, and Bito, who just sat there blankly amidst the smell of her black tea, not even putting the cup to her lips. Virgilia stopped knitting for a moment, and looked out across the vast golden rose garden that extended as far as the eye could see. I believe it's safe to say that at least in the game over who the culprit is, Battler has gained such strength that he will never surrender again. By the 4th game, you had sent him all your messages. In other words, at this time, Battler-kun is capable of realizing the truth at any moment. However, he is still soft in some ways. So, even if the games continue like this 100 times, he won't solve it for all eternity. He'll just wander forever, like someone trying to find the blue bird. And that is you, Beatrice. It's the same for you. Even if this game continues hundreds more times, you'll never reach the answer you seek for all eternity. Berncastle will abuse this game without a doubt. Lambda Delta will also churn the game about with the utmost arrogance. At a glance, that may be humiliating and appear to you and Battler as though the game has been stolen from you. However, that's something the two of you need right now. To end Battler's naive softness, to end your hesitation. And that's why you called the two of them here, to end the eternal torture between you. Those two will bring you either victory or defeat, but no matter how it goes, that result has already been filled with compassion. You should understand that as well by now. Virgilia faced Beto, whom she had come to adore as a daughter, with cold eyes that she must not have shown often. It was like the gaze of a mother who, instead of scolding, silently urges their child to recognize their mistake. Beatrice, how long do you intend to stay there, neither alive nor dead, not rising up to heaven, nor falling into hell, there on the peak of Mount Purgatory? I am Virgilia. I have guided him through purgatory and brought him to you at its peak. And you are Beatrice. You must choose whether to take his hand and rise up to heaven, or grab him and fall into hell. Did you know that the discord called Purgatory, which lies in the gap between heaven and hell, is sometimes more torturous than even hell itself? On the gates of hell, it's written that you must abandon all hope. A human without hope can accept their suffering and give up. However, the residents of Purgatory have hope. A hope of possibly reaching heaven, a hope that cannot be abandoned. And it tortures them. Even in the depths of hell, no greater torture device exists than the single pin known as hope. Fly. Fly from the cliffs of Purgatory. Take with you the regrets caused by your fleeting, fragile, foolish hopes, and open up Pandora's box. You scared? Scared of opening the box? Beto was silent, but with a single tear, she nodded slightly. Is the cat in the box alive or dead? The time has now come to check. If the cat's dead, quickly hold a funeral for it and have it rise to heaven. If the cat's alive, quickly feed it and give it all of your affection. Whether it's alive or dead, your cat box eternally desecrates the cat. The key to the box that you were afraid to open has been brought to you by those two. Beatrice, it's time for you to die now. I hope that your heart is stopped by the hand of the person you desire. Oh no! Is she actually going to leave the game then? Or is... She'll still be in the game as a piece, obviously, but... I don't know. I don't know what this is implying yet. It'll probably show by the end of the arc. Wow, that's a lot of time going by. That's a lot of time going by. What's happening? It's going straight to midnight. Wow. Wow. Alright then. We'll see what that gives us next time. I just find this arc weird in that it's not like 6 people didn't die in the first Twilight like it's meant to. 2 people didn't die in the second Twilight like it's meant to. And I don't know what's going to happen quite. So, alright, we'll wait for this to stop transitioning and all that sort of stuff. Wow. Okay, they're all getting together and I guess Erica's going to try and explain things. Is that what's going to happen? Anyways, for now, this has been Greeny XI. I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again in a bit when we see what happens when they're all gathered. In a bit, folks.